Mr. Mark Oliver.
Hello there.
It's a pleasure to see you, buddy. It really is. We have worked inside or out, one way or the other, about that close for probably 3 or 4 years. And we just haven't meshed and met and said, let's see what we do and what you do. Talk about somebody with a fascinating story. Mark, the only guy I know with a better story from Mountain Pine, Arkansas is Bobby Bones. And he makes, what, $500K a year or something? And that's
makes just a little bit more than I do.
A little bit more than a national park employee. We bid with a zero on the end or something like that, right? Tell us the story. How did you get from Mountain Pine to the glory that is this studio?
Well, born and raised in Hot Springs, right here in National Park College's backyard. Of course, went to Mountain Pine. Started in 1992 for my kindergarten year. Was there K through 12. And, I really kind of grew up to love Garland County at Mountain Pine. Had a lot of great opportunities. And it's funny, you mentioned Bobby Bones, because I don't know what it is, but there's something about Mountain Pine, this small, tiny little hole in the wall here in Garland County, super low population, but breeding radio announcers. I just happened to notice.
What could that be? I don't know.
Had a lot of... I didn't always know that I was going to go into radio and public speaking. I grew up and I loved baseball growing up. A huge Chicago White Sox fan. Played at the Boys and Girls Club in Hot Springs Village. That's where I got my start. And I had the opportunity to play 4 years of varsity baseball for Mountain Pine. Go Red Devils, by the way.
Red Devils. And I'm going to interject in just a minute about Mountain Pine in just a second. There's a unique thing, well, if I can, unique thing about Mountain Pine. Mountain Pine, I think, is one of the most beautiful campuses I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, for sure.
It has a gorgeous hill behind it. That hill behind it is part of the dam that holds back Lake Ouachita. It is phenomenal. And all that land behind there pays zero taxes at all because it's the state, the federal government. Mm-hmm. And so the funding in Fountain Lake, really good. The funding in Jessieville, really good. The funding in Mountain Pine, not so great, right? Because the federal government doesn't pay for that land around it. So anyway, go ahead. There's more of a bias for Mountain Pine than people know, is what I'm getting at. You say, well, it comes from the Jessieville area, it comes from the Fountain Lake, it comes from the Village area. That's true, there's no question there. And I don't mean this wrong, but Mountain Pine's kind of playing with one arm behind their back. They've really had to overperform just to be back up to par. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, if you look at the athletic facilities for the Red Devils compared to some of the other schools in Garland County and the surrounding areas, some of those other schools that have also kind of struggled for funding are finally kind of starting to see their due and millages be passed and, building state-of-the-art sports facilities. And, Mountain Pine is still kind of on the outside looking in. But, as a graduate of the school, we're really hopeful that they'll get their time in the sunshine as well, because there's a lot of deep history that comes through, not just me or Bobby Bones, but there's so many others that aren't necessarily in the spotlight that have done great things and given back to that community and helped grow what it is and help continue growing what it is, even since Weyerhaeuser has been gone and industry has left the city as a whole. But going back to my story, played baseball for the Red Devils. I always had dreams of being a professional baseball player when I grew up. Whenever I first fell in love with the sport at 6 years old, I knew that's what I wanted to do. Hey, maybe play for the Sox one day. My mom's side of the family is all from the Chicago suburbs, so I love all the Chicago sports teams, the White Sox, the Cubs, the Bears, the Bulls, love them all.
So it's a Chicago dynasty there of sorts.
Yeah, absolutely, and probably, largely in part to my family's background. Of course, I consider myself, I guess I would be a second generation American. My mom is the daughter of European immigrants from
what country?
From Ukraine and Poland.
Really?
Yes. They
came. You never knew.
They came over to escape the war at the end of World War II. And came over to find a better life here in America. Of course, had my mom and my uncle, and then a few years later down the road, here I am. So I had such amazing stories. Of course, they've all passed by now, but really inspirational stories on coming over here with only the clothes on their back and nothing else, and building a huge life for themselves here in America. So it's literally the American dream.
Well, and number one, it's not dead, but number two, the American dream has more depth and texture to it than you would ever imagine. And I don't mean this wrong, but Mountain Pine guy, awards, big readings. I mean, tell me more. This is amazing.
Well, so it all kind of just starts out of being the little guy and maybe having your back against the wall a little bit because, when you come from small town Arkansas, such as Mountain Pine, you might have some big dreams and you might have some big challenges that might prevent you from getting to those dreams. And my story is all about curveballs. Great baseball analogy, right?
I love this analogy.
My story is all about curveballs hitting me at the times when I least expect them. I'll give you an example. So, in high school, so I came from a single parent household with a mother with a mental disability. And for me, being able to go to college meant I better have the grades and better get the scholarships to go because if I don't have those things, I don't go to college.
So to be frank, it wasn't, maybe I'll get good grades. It was like, if I'm getting out of this place, I'm getting good grades, right?
And how many people are no matter where you grow up from, that where you're born and raised, how many people's dream is like, I hope to get out of here one day? It doesn't matter where you come from, right?
Sure.
That's the story for many people in Mountain Pine and Hot Springs. And sometimes you get sucked right back in and find that maybe you were supposed to be here the whole time.
Or it ain't so bad in the first place, if you get my point.
Exactly. So I'm off to college. I got a full ride to the University of Central Arkansas in Conway and fell in love with Conway the day that I stepped on campus. Yeah. And, my goal was, okay, beat high school, get the grades, go to college, and then now from there you're going to walk on, you're going to play baseball because your end goal is the MLB. So
we just got to get to the Sox. That's all we got to do.
We're almost there. We're in college. We're almost there.
UCA, White Sox, you're there.
So I get to college in Conway, and my goal is to walk on for UCA baseball. I played high school baseball all throughout my career, but I didn't get any offers to play on the collegiate level.
Back up just for a sec. Let's explain. Not everybody here is a sports person.
Okay.
So walk on means you didn't get a scholarship to play baseball.
That's
you got
right.
A scholarship academically, and you're hoping eventually that maybe I can get on here and play.
Exactly. All my scholarships were academic. I had a 4.0, had great ACT scores, and for me it was, all right, now how do I find myself into a team to keep this journey going? So as a college freshman, and this is really, really funny, because I'm an MLB star in the making, right?
Nobody, just undiscovered. That's the only problem, right?
I'm 5'11", 120.
Now, is this is sopping wet out of the shower kind of thing,
yeah.
120?
Oh, yeah. I was a speedster. Mountain Pine, when I played baseball on the high school level, we weren't winning state championships. We were barely making the playoffs, to be fair. But what we were good at, we were really, really fast. We were skilled at getting on base, stealing bases. That was kind of our bread and butter. But when I get to the college arena and I'm, on walk-on tryouts and I'm trying to make the team, I'm 5'11", 120. And then here's guys that, got athletic scholarships. They had coaches say, hey, come play for us. We want you. And here's me. How can I contribute? How can I be a part of this? Well, curveball, right? So you get to this point, you think that you always have this goal in mind, what you want to do when you grow up, and then you learn, we don't really have a place for you here in baseball.
Because the environment has changed. You've never known.
Well, the expectations have changed.
Yeah.
Medical technology and strength and conditioning and weightlifting and all those things have changed where our athletes are bigger, faster, stronger than ever before due to technology and social technology, knowing who's ahead of you in the path and things like that. So for me, whenever I was told no, hey, we're sorry, but no, my whole life up to that point, I was like, this is what I'm going to do with my life. And then curveball happens. And then here I am my freshman year of college, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do anymore. That is what I was supposed to do with my life.
So
right?
And let me just interject and recap for a second. We tell ourselves, this is my goal, this is my plan. There was no plan B. There was no plan B.
I didn't need one because I thought that I was good enough and I thought that I could get there. And so who makes a plan B when plan A is solid?
It's going to work.
Right?
This is good. This is who needs a fallback, right?
So that was a big eye opener for me. So I'm a freshman in college and now my baseball playing days are over. So I don't know what to do at that point. So I had a roommate, my college roommate at the time, his name was Jason. And he could tell I was really down in the dumps and I was just like lost. I felt lost at that point. And he's like, hey man, look, I work at the radio station on campus, KUCA 91.3. I work at the radio station on campus, and you can go in and you can go and make your own music show. You can have a political show. You can go and you can take an hour of your time, and they'll basically let you have whatever kind of show you want. Why don't you go down there and see if there's something for you? So I said,
hang on. Did that sound appealing at all?
Well, it kind of did, because in high school, I had various opportunities to kind of get my feet wet with radio, and I didn't realize it at the time, but like in 8th grade, when you're in like careers class,
career day,
and you have to go job shadow something, I just wanted to do something cool that I thought the rest of the student body would be cool. So when I was in 8th grade at Mountain Pine, I went and I job shadowed at 105.9 KLAZ, and I was a radio DJ for a day because I was like, that's really cool. That's going to help get the girls or whatever. I don't know.
Well, who's going to need girls? You're going to be a NBA star.
Yeah, right. Yeah, sure, fine, right. But
120 pounds of you.
So I go down to the radio station, and I meet a couple guys that run the station, Monty Rowell, Steve Owens, and I kind of tell them my story. And I think I was very visibly disappointed, where I was like, man, this is the whole reason I came here, and now this is not happening. And they really helped kind of change my perception on sports. It's like, hey, okay, so maybe you're not playing sports anymore, but have you ever thought about the sports broadcast side of things? We're literally in a radio station right now. And those two guys were the play-by-play voices of UCA sports. Monty was the voice of UCA men's basketball and also contributed with UCA football. And then Steve Owens was the voice of UCA women's basketball and UCA baseball. And so they invited me and encouraged me, hey, why don't you come get your feet wet here with the station? We can tell you're really passionate about sports. So I met another student at the time who was also very interested in sports. His name was Levi Gilbert. And the two of us together sat down and created our own sports talk show for our hour
and you
at
were
KUCA.
how old? You were how old?
I mean, I was
18, 19?
I was 18, almost 19 years old, right out of high school.
And you had a radio show.
Had a radio show. We started our own sports talk show. We called it the Sports Beat. And we talked about local high school sports for the Faulkner County area, Conway, Mayflower, Greenbrier. National sports, obviously, talked a lot about UCA sports as well. And it kind of became that beacon for sports information there at UCA. We could talk about what happened in the game and highlights of the game, and we'd bring coaches on and players on, and we're interviewing people, and we're kind of just flying by the seat of our pants, if you will, but it really took off in a big way, and the listener base was growing in such a big way, and we had some really cool segments that really kind of jump-started that listenership. We had 3 Up, 3 Down at the beginning of the show, which was like Levi would focus on like the 3 positive stories of the day, uplifting records being broken, things like that. And I'd have what would be called 3 Down, which would be like maybe the negative stories, or, athletes that had died, or controversial stories. And it was a real good mix of positive and maybe negative stories. In
Pete Rose being banned, et cetera.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then what I think really helped us take off, our final segment of the show was called The Face Off, kind of like the John Travolta, Nicolas Cage movie. and basically because Levi and I were very much in agreement in pretty much everything. We're very like-minded in sports topics and things like that. But The Face Off required us to go against each other head-to-head, a debate topic in sports.
On something you disagreed sincerely, or just that you pretended to disagree?
Sometimes yes, often no, but it forced us to take that other side, right? And that challenged me also from a sports analytical point in many different ways. But all the while this is going on, and our show is taking off. Huge.
What classes are you taking?
Well, so I was a broadcast journalism major.
Did you change your major after you got there?
I technically didn't have a major going in. I didn't really know what to do. I knew I wanted to play baseball, right? But then once we saw the show starting to take off, like your freshman year, you're just getting, you're getting your sciences out of the way in college English and college algebra and all that stuff. But then I was like, you know what? Here we go. It's time to lock in.
Yeah.
So broadcast journalism was being offered. So I'm taking, television production and, broadcast announcing and public speaking and things like that. But all the while, Monty and Steve-O, the owners for the radio station, are looking at us and like, wow, these guys really have potential. So, the Sports Beat was taking off. And then for 1 year, in 2008, as a birthday present, Steve-O comes to me and says, Mark, pack your bags. We're going to Texas. And I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And so we loaded up in one of the UCA company cars. And to be honest, I can say this now, is this is a little rinky-dink, little white little car. But we drove down to
State issued.
State issued car, has a little logo on the side. We drove down to Huntsville, Texas, Sam Houston State University, where the Bears were playing a 3-game series. And I got to do color commentary for the first time.
Oh my God. Did you think
Huge college stadium. And Dennis, from the moment that I got on the mic, I was hooked.
Really?
Well, you know, and it's one of those things. We go back for a second. We think when we're growing up, this is what I'm going to do with my life. It's this path and nothing else. And then sometimes that doesn't work out for you. And then for me, it's like, it was like an awakening. It opened my eyes and it showed me what I could do. And I was pretty good at public speaking in high school. I remember like in my 6th grade graduation, my best friend and I were chosen to, we treated graduation like a comedy show. And we literally, my friend Jesse and I literally got up on stage and we roasted the entire 6th grade graduating class. I don't know who at Mountain Pine allowed us to do that. It was a terrible idea.
Don't do that again.
But it was one of those things. And I took drama. I took 3 years of high school drama in high school. And you know, I was out and we were doing plays and I was out there and I was kind of like the funny guy and a little bit comical and silly. But I didn't know that all of those things were building me up with this public speaking background to where when I got put in front of a microphone, it was time to shine.
It clicked. And I've got to come back I want to remedial some things just for a minute. Color as opposed to play-by-play.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean,
tell me what, for our guest.
So painting the pictures. So the job of a play-by-play broadcaster is really to literally dictate the events of what's going on in a baseball game. This is the count. This is who's on base, how many outs, who's at the plate. And for me, this guy might be at the plate, but as a color commentator, it is, hey, this guy's been killing it at the plate right now. He's batting 300 right now. He excels with runners in scoring position. This is a great opportunity for him. This is the opportunity for UCA to turn the tide of the game. If they're losing or if they're winning, put their foot on the gas kind of thing. So you're really adding supporting elements to the story to back up and more flower the language for what the play-by-play announcer is literally just dictating kind of like what you see or hear.
Did Steve-O know when you clicked, when you sat at the mic and you started doing color, did he go, oh man, I picked the right guy for the right place? Or did you drive back and he was very silent and went like, maybe? I'll be honest, I think I only got the opportunity because they saw potential in me with what we were doing with the radio show. I think if I wasn't the guy, if I didn't have that talent or that knack, I would have never been extended the offer in the first place. They were very, very smart and they were very, very protective of the brand. Sure. So, to put a rookie broadcaster on the mic, they had to be sure. They had to be sure. Wow. And I was thankful for the opportunity. And, so from there, I would fill in as color commentator. There would be times where, like I said, they were the play-by-play voice of multiple sports. And in the spring, sometimes those overlap. And when they were double booked, Levi and I would go out, hey, you guys need to go cover the baseball game today. So we'd go announce the baseball game. And I would do play-by-play, or sometimes I'd do color. And then even after I graduated at UCA, those guys would still be double booked sometimes. And they'd call me and say, hey, Mark, hey, we really need some help this weekend. You want to do men's basketball? You want to do women's basketball? You want to do baseball? I would just get in the car and drive to Conway. Let's do this. Yeah. And it was that pipeline. It was those opportunities that really started everything for me. Because as I look at it now, that was 2008. Here it is, 2025. Right. We're literally 17 years later. Here I am. I'm still on a microphone. I'm still calling games. I love what I do. Well, and let me interrupt just for a second. So the reason that I intersected with Mark is because you're doing the Fountain Lake football with Tracy. That's right. Which is an award-winning show. No kidding. I mean, literally, and I've heard them say award-winning. I'm like, yeah. They got it. And in that scenario, Tracy is the color. That's right. And you're the play-by-play. That's right. And my God, it just works great. It really does. But I want to interrupt for one more second. I want you to look in that camera in just a second, and I want you to tell a young boy named River about Plan A and Plan B and what your suggestion, what your advice to him would be.
Oh my goodness, that's a
I
lot,
know.
that's a lot
I
of
didn't
pressure.
mean-
Of course, so River. So for those that don't, River is my 6-year-old son, and whether it's Fountain Lake broadcast or even for National Park broadcast, you've seen him, the long-haired blonde boy. Everybody thinks he's a girl. He's a boy, but
he's hysterical. He is hysterical.
he has a very bright future in sports
does.
broadcasting. He'll be better than me.
think?
All I'm doing is just showing him the ropes. He'll be better than me one day. No doubt about it.
Diane and I are driving to Bauxite they're playing Bauxite. We're listening on the radio. We're driving to Tunica. We're listening the whole time. We are enthralled, and it is an unbelievable game with over 100 penalties.
Well, I mean, it's 4 hours plus. You know, the final score is like both teams. It's a high school football game. Both teams are in the 70s in scoring.
In scoring,
no defense, high scoring game, big rivalry game. It's in the pit. If you know anything about Bauxite, difficult place to play.
It's raining. It's nasty. It's awful. The wind's howling.
It's a scene out of a movie.
It is, and so at the half a break every time they have an interview with River, and River will come up to the microphone, and Diane and I are like, okay, what's River going to say this time? And I'm trying to remember what he said about the game that night, but I remember one night you asked him at halftime. They have a little commentator from River, and he's just classic. and one time you asked him, you said, what should we do for the next half? And he said, I just don't know. And then one night you asked him, and he said, what should we do? And he said, more touchdowns. We got to score more. We definitely got to score more. And Diane and I are just laughing in the backseat. It's Mayberry. It really is. It really is.
It's unique and it's different. And that's something that I've probably done my entire career, Dennis,
Really?
is, coming into broadcasting as the young guy, and there's a field full of established broadcasters. They've been doing it for decades, and they got this large following. One of the challenges coming in as a new guy is, all right, how can I be different? What can I do different than what they're doing? I want to be unique. I want to be energetic. I want people to turn them off and listen to me and watch me instead. Now, I don't know if anybody out there has the guts to put a 6-year-old on a halftime analysis for high school football.
Whoa.
I do.
Live without a dump button. Hello, yeah, you do, yeah.
I do, and of course that's special thanks to KVRE because they've given us the keys to this car since 2013, and it's been an incredible run. Fountain Lake football really started. So I graduate from UCA. I moved back home to Hot Springs. I'm working at KLAZ. We talk about job shadowed in high school. Now I'm working at KLAZ.
And this is what, 5 years later?
This is like 2000. So whenever I started working at KLAZ would have been in 2009, fall of 2009. And our production director at the time, Aaron Garrett, says, we want to kind of try to incorporate sports into our sister stations. We know that you've got some play-by-play experience. Are you in? So I start. I believe it's early 2010, and I'm the voice of Lake Hamilton baseball and softball. My first official play-by-play gig. Right here close to home, and I'm loving it, having a really good time. And then I'm approached by a man by the name of Lanny Beavers, and he comes to me and he says, hey, Fountain Lake High School won the high school football state championship in 2009 and said, you know what, this team is really, really good, but they have no press coverage. They have nobody covering this team. Nobody announces for this team. He says, what do you know about high school football? How well do you know high school football? So, of course, we've learned my story up to this point. And how many times have I mentioned, oh yeah, I played high school football?
I didn't hear the football part of the story yet.
I didn't.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
So, I debated about this for a long time, and I was like, you know what? I don't know if I ever want to share this story, but now I think enough time has passed where I feel like I can do this. So
this is where like the 7 years where you can't be prosecuted anymore has expired?
The statute of limitations has expired. So here's the deal. Here's the secret about Mark Oliver that you don't know.
Listen closely, River.
When it comes to Fountain Lake football. He asked me, how well do you know high school football? Can you announce high school football?
To which you immediately said, great, yeah, wonderful. And you had zero experience, is that correct?
I didn't know a thing about football other than, covering it for UCA and like on the radio.
Yeah.
But I never played a down of football in my life. I still to this day don't know that I can throw a football, but River can throw a perfect spiral. I don't know who taught him, but it wasn't me.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. Sometimes when an opportunity smacks you in the face, you got to take it. You got to take, that was a huge opportunity for me for a high school football state championship caliber team. So I accepted the opportunity. Now, what they didn't know is I didn't know a lick about football, but here's what I did. I immediately went on my lunch break from work at the radio station. I drove down to the Hot Springs Mall. I walked into GameStop and I bought Madden NFL football for my Xbox 360.
You have got to be kidding me. I thought you were going to say you went on YouTube. You're serious? You actually went and bought a video game and learned how to...
I went and bought Madden for my Xbox 360, and for the next few months, as we got prepared for the start of the season, I would play Madden almost nightly to learn the rules of the game and get familiar with penalties and things like...
There would be a roughing the kicker penalty or whatever, and you would go, oh, that's what that is.
I never played football. I was 5'11", 120. What was I going to do? What was I going to do? I was going to die.
No, I'm bad about this, but I'm being really good. I usually interject my own story, so I'm going to interject just for a minute.
Okay.
I was 6'1", 125.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, I get it.
They invented a new game when I played football. Would you like to know what it's called? See who can hit the skinny kid the furthest. Mm-hmm. You may have had that game with you had you played, right?
Yeah. I mean, my mom was never going to let me play football. You're going to get hurt.
Are you kidding?
My mom wasn't going to let me play football.
Besides, you were going to be in the NBL.
So anyway, Fountain Lake begins, and we start in the fall of 2010. And man, if you blinked, you missed it.
Really?
Last season, we completed our 15th year on the radio doing Fountain Lake football. Of course, our first 3 years were with Noel and Mark Broadcasting. And then in 2013, the KVRE family brought us on with open arms, Tracy Simpson and myself. And Dennis, if for the listeners and the viewers out there, if you've ever caught one of our Fountain Lake games, we're anything but by the book. I get loud and excited. You might call me a homer. That's fine. But when it comes to my style for announcing games, and I do this whether it's with Fountain Lake, National Park College, or any of the freelance opportunities I get, I view these opportunities as entertainment. They're sports shows, and you want to know the score and how the game's going to go. But I also feel like my listener wants to be entertained. So
it's not just the facts. It's more than the facts.
In college, in your broadcast journalism program, they tell you, be professional, be neutral, be knowledgeable. I don't know so much about the neutral.
I don't know about the neutral either. I'm pretty sure Tracy doesn't know how to be neutral, especially when his boys are playing, and in the last few years that they have.
Exactly.
I would be the same way. Can you imagine? My son's playing out there, but I'm going to be neutral. Somebody just knocked the blank out of my son, but I'm not going to be upset about it. Yeah, whatever.
Hey, I've learned that it's okay to be, not everything according to the textbook. It's okay to be unique. Be the unicorn. So for me, listen, I've been on the field, on the court with student athletes in some of the biggest moments of their athletic careers. And to me, when they're breaking a record, winning a championship, defeating a rival, those are all moments that deserve enthusiasm and energy. That's a big moment to deliver. So for you to come
up to them, they're on the zenith, they're on the highest level they may ever reach, and you put a microphone together and you go, so what do you think? You've got to have that enthusiasm with them, or you're not contributing to the cause.
It's an acquired skill. It's not easy, but you'll learn to feel out these situations and deliver that momentum and that energy and that motivation that comes along with a big call. And a lot of these guys, especially on the NPC level, they can go back and they can watch the YouTube live broadcast. You might hit a home run. You hit the walk-off home run during the game. I got to go back and see what Mark did for that. And so for me, it's almost like it's a memento for these players. Oh. It's like a keepsake for them almost, going back, and they'll clip it and they'll share it on social media and it'll go viral and blow up or whatever. And that's the least that I can do for them, because at the heart of who I am, I'm just a storyteller. Well, when you really break it down, I'm just telling their story.
And in essence, but that promotes them. That promotes their life and what they're doing.
Pushing close to 100 different venues and stadiums and courts in the state of Arkansas. But, it all started off with a map of Arkansas. And maybe I wasn't thinking ambitiously enough, because now, year 17 in my broadcasting career, I've called games in 5 different states here in the U.S.
Let me, and River, this is for you. Buy a car that gets good gas mileage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're going to be driving a lot.
Learn how to change a tire too. It'll come in handy.
It will present itself in the future, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
You'll impress the ladies too.
Oh, really? Because I know how to change a tire.
Absolutely.
Oh, I've never played football, but I know how to change a tire. Mark, it's been a pleasure. Thank you today.
Yes, thank you.
Dennis Simpson for Hot Springs Village Venues. We will see you next time.
HSV Radio. HSV Radio is heard every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. or streaming on any of the major platforms. Hot Springs Village Radio is an eclectic mix of music, motivation, great music history, and Saturday morning fun. Join us every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. 92.9. And brought to you by the Hot Springs Village Voice, Hot Springs Village only newspaper, also serving all of Saline and Garland County. Your local newspaper for local events. No one else has more local news than the Hot Springs Village Voice about the Hot Springs Village area. Sign up today at hsvvoice.com or call 501-623-6397. Again, that's 501-623-6397. Located at 3576 North Highway 7 in Hot Springs Village, Arkansas, just in front of Walmart. Brought to you by Gotta Go Vacations. www.gottagovacations.com. Troy Woods and Patrick Cunningham at 501-204-4805 can help you with any of your travel needs. Patrick and Troy have been airline stewards for decades, and their experience and their travel can serve you well. GottaGoVacations.com, again, that's GottaGoVacations.com, can help you book the perfect tour for you. Whether it's a riverboat cruise up the Mississippi or the Rhine, these guys are who you need to call. 501-204-4805. Troy or Patrick, 501-204-4805. GottaGoVacations.com. D&D Village Properties. Hot Springs Village only short-term rental with over 2,100 five-star reviews. All properties are lakefront. They include complimentary kayaks, hot tub, pet-friendly, and a stunning view of the lake. Visit DD Village Prop today for your vacation getaway.